in every circle about what's your big goal. What do you want? What's the aspiration? And I find it interesting that we spend so much time thinking about the vision board, writing down goals, but we don't spend a lot of time thinking about how will we get there. And in particular, what's the journey of sacrifice and focus that will bring you to the finish line? Because truthfully, if it doesn't include some levels of wobbles, terror, wins, you're not dreaming big enough. And it's not going to be smooth sailing. So when it comes down to it, don't just think about what is the holy grail for you. I want you to be thinking about what are the milestones I'm willing to keep working through to get there. Because I don't know anybody who gets to a goal without some level of discomfort, because it's growth at its heart. And growth means stretching, and any stretch pushes you past your comfort zone. And I know there have been many moments, talked about pivot points yesterday, where the biggest questions I was asked is, what are you willing to sacrifice? And it's a personal choice. I work with elite business owners, people who run multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses, and they're prepared to do the work. That's what I love about them, because it's a room of action takers. Why they come into my circle is often conversations, whether it's through my direct programs or whether it's through masterminds and communities we serve in together. It always comes down to, tell me it's worth it. Because we see in the marketplace all this time this dumbing down ambition. The oversimplification things, thinking people can't meet us at our level. And a belief that we're just going to show you the highlight reel instead of the real reality. And I am not having it on my watch. I am really honest with my clients, really honest with my peers, what's really going on in the life. I rely on the ebb and flow, and I'm crystal clear what's worth it for me. I call them non-negotiables. You hear me talk. If you've heard me speak, I talk about the 3 non-negotiables in business. If somebody comes into my ecosystem, has heard me speak, been at an event and says, I needed the lightning rods that you showed in your business model, I always ask this question, tell me why it's non-negotiable for you. What are you willing to put in the effort for? Why is that worth it to you? Why now? We got to get clear on what the effort level will be, because effort is required. I tell people all the time, business growth is elegantly simple. It is not at all effortless. So what effort are you willing to put in for? How committed are you? Because commitment is an individual choice. I remember many moons ago, I grew up in the world of business. I educated myself. I've got 2 great degrees from great universities in the world of business. And when I was looking at my MBA, I knew from a young age, I was sort of guided that that would always be a stepping stone. But I was also reminded the MBA would not be my definition of who I am as a person. It was a stepping stone for greater things. And when I was looking at programs and services, I went to a mentor. Y'all notice the theme here. I've had them all my life. And I said, I want to look at a university. I want to look at an MBA program. But of course, I know the room will be filled with type A personalities. It's not about the stuff in the courses. It's going to be about the network. It's going to be about something other than the fact we're all type A personalities. And I was guided to the University of Edinburgh, and I am a graduate of that university. 2 things were really interesting about that program. Number 1 was its international element. I was in a class of about 110, and there were 70 nationalities represented. So we're all elite thinkers. We're all type A personalities. But the ability to be able to get to a finish line in a really multicultural element was going to be a lesson I thought would equip me in the global world I wanted to play in. It was vital, because I said it wasn't about you weren't smart enough. It was like you and I have to find common ground outside of the knowledge that will build a massive engine. Second component that was equally important is that it had a dissertation requirement. I'm stunned that people would pay $70,000 to $100,000 for a degree when it was just coursework. Dissertations to me are about critical thinking. And I kept saying for many years, I will do my MBA when I know what I want to write about. We need critical thinkers. I've talked about these in my 10-day inspirational thoughts here. We need leaders who work not just at the intellectual level, but at the heart level. We need people who have critical skills. We need people to be able to communicate ideas, influence others for the greater good, and make the tough decisions. That's what we needed. And I started to equip myself at the age of 28 in that pathway. And to go as a student abroad meant I had to fully fund this. I didn't have government funding. So I had to save my money to pay for a $70,000 degree. It was worth it to me. I have zero regrets. I have exponentially earned the income back on that. I have an incredible network of people I am still friends with today, and I am a better leader for having had that opportunity. When I'm working with business owners today, the most critical conversations I have are strategic in nature. I'm a strategic business advisor. I'm always asking people, who are you? What do you stand for? Where do you want to play? Why is it worth it? Why will people say yes to you? What do you need to get there? When people look at those questions, they're often going, well, I know what the goal is. I said, great. Without a goal, it's hard to get there. More importantly, I said, where are you starting from? And what are you going to sacrifice? And how will you prioritize your effort to take the stepping stones that will build momentum? And they're like, wow, I feel legless. Christine, I don't know the answers to that. And I said, well, this is a critical question. I'm going to slow you down until we figure this out. And it's better to do that in conversation, because clarity, we said it earlier this week, clarity doesn't come because you chose to take a red notebook to Starbucks at 2:00 on Tuesday. You've got to be able to sit with these questions. And that's not a popular thing we do these days. Like, we don't slow down enough to think, but we need to. Because when we sit with our truth and we get clear on what we want and we're really aware of what we're going to sacrifice, that's when gasoline catches fire. And I tell people when they come into my programs and they've heard me speak, I talk a lot about the 3 non-negotiables every business needs. There are, in fact, 5, but without the first 3, 4 and 5 are irrelevant, and most don't have the first 3. So I start you where you are. And then they come into my ecosystem and they say, I'm looking at the Business Scale Accelerator one-to-one mentorship program, but I'm also curious about the group program, which is called Ignite Your Client Growth. And those that have been around a little while also keep saying to me, when's your next event? Are you going to kickstart the mastermind? Because I really want to be in that room. But they come into my space and I said, well, I'll tell you what the programs are. They all lead you to the same place. A client growth engine, critical thinking skills, and the ability as a business leader to make decisions quickly and to role model great things for others that you will influence, your clients, your peers, your suppliers, and of course, anybody who's watching from the outside that might be your next client. I always ask this question: what are you willing to sacrifice to reach that goal? Because there's going to be effort. And all of us that play at an elite level are willing to sacrifice. We're willing to make decisions of yes and no in equal measure. When I went to my MBA, I said, I'm prepared to sacrifice a career that was on a great trajectory. I said, the best piece of advice I was given at the time was from my mentor, who said, don't let a great ski season. I was working for Interwest at the time in the lower mainland. I had a season's pass at Whistler. He said, don't let a great ski season and a great director level role derail you from the impact you're going to make in the world. The mountain will still be there. Another great ski season will also be on the horizon. If you choose it's a priority for you, the mountain's not going anywhere. It was great advice because it was about reminding me to stay the path of commitment. And one of the reasons I see so many business owners do the hokey pokey is because they lack the commitment. They lack the recognition that they're responsible. The leadership piece comes back to play. They're responsible for deciding what they focus on. When people say, I don't know how to find time for my business, I said, then you don't want it. It's not worth it for you. You can't see enough of the effort to be the payoff that makes the short term worth it. When I started my business journey, I committed 1 hour a day to that journey. And I want to share that story with you today because it's an important one, because it talks about what was I willing to sacrifice. I knew from a young age that I would go in and start a business of my own. I've known that since I was probably 10. I kept saying if I knew what I wanted to do, I'd just go do it. Like the MBA, if I knew what I wanted to write about for my dissertation, I would go do it. And I kept saying that all of my life. If I just do it, I'd eventually get tired of my own BS and I would just go do it. It's the way I'm wired. But it was truthfully an unexpected spark that lit the fire. Someone in my network on LinkedIn reached out to me This was not somebody I socialized with. This was an office colleague, and one, truthfully, that I thought we had a bit of a frictional relationship with, simply because we saw the world very differently and we wanted very different things. And at the age of 30, I found it incomprehensible that we were so different in what we wanted, because 30 for many women is a very pivotal moment. And I thought, you and I are just like on very different planets. But she remembered me and she reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, I want to chat with you. And I'm like, I'm so shocked you'd remember my name that I am curious. Curiosity is the one thing I can't teach. It's the thing that always gets me excited. And she said, 10 years ago when we met, you always struck me as somebody who wanted to do something on your own. I'm thinking, wow, how remarkable that 10 years ago, when that even wasn't top of mind, I was still leaving that as a seed I planted. And then she watched and observed my career move around the world, different industries, wildly different spaces. And she said, this would be a good fit for you. Are you curious about having a conversation? Which I was, and I did. I did not get out of bed on a Wednesday to start a business. And I almost didn't. By Friday, I was all through the justifications of what I wasn't willing to sacrifice. I could hear it in my head. I was like, all the convenient excuses, money and time and bandwidth, BS. When you want it, it's a priority, you do it. Full stop, guys. Like that, like you need to hear that. If you want it, you will do it because it's worth it. And I could hear myself justifying the no. And I thought, oh my God, I don't want to be that person. It's lazy decision making. It's not good leadership. And so in a nanosecond, I sent a WhatsApp message and said, I'm in. That was Friday. And I went down to make a cup of tea. My husband was making coffee, or my soon-to-be husband. We weren't quite married yet. I said, by the way, I was reaching for something. I just started a business. He's like, I'm sorry, what? You did what? I just left you brushing your teeth upstairs. I said, yeah, I've started a business. And he's like, we're about to be married. We should have conversations about things like that. That's a pretty big decision. And I'm like, I've never been married before. So if there are rules about what we should be having conversations with, please send me the rule book. I will better navigate the world if there's rules I should follow. And I said, truthfully, it didn't occur to me to ask you. And I didn't mean it disrespectfully. I was capable of making my own decisions. I was an adult and I thought it was the best interest for me. So I made the decision and moved on. And he's like, okay, I agree with the fact that you're a smart woman. And if this is the right decision for you, it's the right decision and I'll support you on it. What do we need to do to support you together as soon to be married couple with bonus children that I was soon going to be having in my life? I said, I need an hour a day. He said, okay, well, I can commit to an hour a day. And I said, you can tell the kids it's an hour of dedicated dad time. You guys can watch 2 episodes of Friends, whatever. But when it's done, you come knock on my door and whatever I'm doing, I will stop and I will rejoin. And to be clear, I didn't always spend it 60 full minutes back to back. Sometimes it was 10 minutes in a lineup at Starbucks. Sometimes it was 3 o'clock on a Sunday. Sometimes it was 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I just was committed to the 1 hour and I was very disciplined about it. And it snowballed. My business grew. I was making waves. To me, I was committed past the convenience factor. I was prepared to sacrifice today to reach some goals that I had set that said they were personally worth it to me. That hasn't changed in the years since. When people come into my business and I join spaces, I'm really clear about having the conversation. This is my goal. This is what I'm willing to sacrifice. Here's where I wobble, and please hold me accountable. And what I love is when people come into me and saying, I see this effort over here is distracting what's really going on over here. And I value that feedback. I value the crucial conversations, and I value people having me hold my own line. Because that's what a boundary is. It isn't me holding your line. It's me holding my own. And I always have this conversation when people come into my space looking for my services. Tell me why this is non-negotiable for you now. Tell me, what are you willing to sacrifice? Tell me where you're likely to wobble. Tell me why this is worth it for you. Because when you come into my business services and I'm being mentoring you formally, I said, my job is to both remind you, hold you accountable, and hold your vision while you wobble. Because you've told me it was worth it in your own words, at your own speed, and your own dedicated commitment to showing up to your potential. I want to ask you, what are you willing to sacrifice? Where are you willing to focus? Where are you willing to get accountability? And where are you 100% ready to put down owning the peanut gallery that's in your head of somebody else's opinion whose life you wouldn't trade, you don't respect, and you don't honestly want? Because when I'm working with my clients who are 6 and 7 figure business owners, I said, don't get caught into the ease trap. I don't get out of bed because it's easy. I get out of bed because it's worth it. I'm willing to put in the dedication and the commitment today for the discipline and the rewards of tomorrow. That's ownership of a business. I get up because to me, I'm sat and said, this is who I am, how I show up. And I have that conversation at the end of the day that says, did I show up in my integrity? Did I move the needle? And if I didn't, I have those conversations that says, with God, please give me another opportunity. Tomorrow I will show up and start again. Sacrifice is necessary. Stop thinking about goals as this weird abstract thing on the wall. If you only write it down and you don't spend the time thinking about what will I do to get there, how much will I shift the priorities, you won't get there. And what you're willing to sacrifice is a personal choice. Don't let anybody bamboozle you, strong arm you into doing something that isn't you. I tell people, and I want to say it to you, as our final day 10, your business should feel like oxygen to you. If it's not, it's because it is not in alignment with what you want. You are not sacrificing for it, and you're not focused on things because you haven't decided it's worth it. The moment you decide it's worth it, the fire is sparked and you cannot turn it off. And that's what I tell people. When you come to me and I know your fire's sparked and you're clear on what you're willing to do, why it's worth it to you, and you can communicate that, even if it's just a whisper to me, I'll say, well, I will be your oxygen source. I can be fuel. My network can be fuel. I will hold the vision and help you. And that's why my clients ride fast. Because we have a lot of conversations about this. And anytime there's incongruency, I've been hired to say, there's incongruency, what's happening? Either the vision has shifted and we shift the vision and we get an alignment on it, or truthfully, the actions have shifted and they're incongruent, which means we're in our own way, we're stalled, we're doing all the things and not making any progress. And I call BS and say, let's take a course correction. We've taken quite a journey today. Today, I want to ask you, what is worth it? When did you know you've got to put down your own BS story? Get out of your own damn way. Use the system. Rely on structure to help you make better decisions. Listen to good advice. Focus on the best ways forward, not every way forward. Simplify, simplify, simplify. And in case you forgot you're awesome, procrastination is a luxury. It's always hard before it gets easy, and it's lonely if you're in circles where they don't understand that you are responsible for you. That's it. It's that simple. So get out there, my friends, make it happen. And if you're in the world of business and you need a supporting best friend who's going to have your back, believe in what you want, support you to get there, and be honest, come connect. I am Christine Campbell-Rapin. I'm grateful to have you in my network. My friends, it's our time. Let's go rock this to the moon and back. Come along for the ride.